Never gotten to do that before. Good evening, everyone. This is Thursday, December 7th, 2023, and we are here for the reorganization meeting for Wilson School District. It is 5 o'clock. I would like to call this meeting to order. Just about 20 minutes ago, I can confirm that we did receive confirmation that the election has been certified, and we have all 5 certificates from the county, so we can move forward. Next step, 1.2, swearing in of school board directors. We're going to do this one at a time, beginning with Mr. Bernard McCree, who will be sworn in by Judge Tanya Butler.
Ready?
Yes.
Put your right hand, your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Bernard McCree,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, if you could just
I'm nervous.
Thank you.
Mr. McCree, you can now take your seat at the table.
Okay.
All right, the remaining 4 individuals will be sworn by Judge Patrick Barrett. And let's begin with Ms. Jennifer Denny, please.
Okay. First off, congratulations.
Thank
Ready?
you. Yes.
All right. Repeat after me. I, Jennifer Denny,
I, Jennifer Denny,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of this office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You need to sign. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next we have Mr. Brad Hart.
Oh, sure. No problem. Is he going to affirm? Okay. Yes, is he going to swear or affirm either way? What's that? Oh, you can. Okay. All right, repeat after me. I, Brad Hart,
I, Brad Hart,
do solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I need you to sign.
Can you point out where-
Right there. Right there.
This way?
Yeah, you got it, right there, right above your hair. Perfect. There, thank you very much.
All right, next will be Ms. Guadalupe Casper.
Is this Mom? Yes. Is one of you going to hold the Bible? You can both hold it. There you go. You can hold it too. You have to put your hand on it. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
I, Guadalupe Casper,
I, Guadalupe Casper,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge my duties
and that I will discharge my duties
of this office
of this office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Need to sign. Thank you. Congratulations.
And last but not least, Mr. Robert Schneider.
Who's going to hold the Bible? There you go. Okay, come on forward. Just a little. Come on in. I don't bite. Ready? All right. I, Robert Schneider,
I, Robert Schneider,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Way to smile.
Here you go.
Where am I signing?
Right
Oh,
there.
right there. Sorry, I'm a lefty. I'm gonna get it.
Sure, so am
Thank you.
I. You're very welcome. Am I discharged?
Thank you, Your Honor. You may be dismissed, yes.
I
I'm usually the one asking for that permission.
Exactly. And I discharge people all day long.
Thank you for being here, Judge.
No, thank you very much. Who gets them? I can take those. What's that? Okay, thank you. Before I leave, because I was a politician and got elected, and I want to say something to all of you. For the last 8 years, I've been a trial judge in this county. For a common pleas, we are the judicial district, the 23rd judicial district in this Commonwealth. Being a public servant for the last 8 years, for those of you that got elected and just got sworn in, congratulations, be patient, and enjoy. Good luck, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Agenda Item 1.3. Ms. Burkholder, can I please have a roll call?
Mr. Case,
Here.
Mrs. Denny,
Here.
Mr. Hart,
Here.
Mrs. Casper,
Here.
Dr. Kennedy,
Here.
Mr. McCray,
Here.
Mr. McCree, Mr. Schneider,
Here.
Mrs. Cocker.
Here.
9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the pledge. Agenda Item 1.5, there are no communications. Agenda Item 1.6, solicitor announcements, I have nothing to announce tonight. Agenda Item 1.7, public participation. Pursuant to the Sunshine Law, individuals are permitted to speak during public comment. They are expected to conduct themselves responsibly and respectfully so as not to disrupt the meeting. This is not a question and answer session, but an opportunity for members of the public to comment on matters that are or may come before the board. In particular, please note that personnel and student matters cannot be commented on by the board due to confidentiality laws, and that's the case even if the individual speaking is actually a parent or an employee of the district. The superintendent may assign an administrator or may speak directly to the speaker with regard to any questions that are posed after the meeting to answer them. The board respectfully requests that comments be directed to the board, as the entire board needs to consider these comments for future action. Clapping, calling out, cheering, or conversations are not permitted. Individuals should make their public comments from the speaker's lectern, and comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. I will keep time, and I will attempt to give a non-disruptive 1-minute warning that the time is up. Any person making threats of violence will be removed from the meeting and may be cited by police. These are all outlined in Wilson School District Policy 903, which is available on the district's website. I would like to call, I believe, the first and only speaker, Mr. Jeff Berg. I apologize if I mispronounced that name.
You got it perfect. I was really hoping I wouldn't be the only speaker, but Bob, I want to say it's really good to see you up and about. I'm glad you're recovering well. I'd also like to thank the voters and the community members who turned out for this election. I couldn't be more proud to be a part of a community that rejected hate and misinformation so forcefully. I'd also like to congratulate all of the candidates, well, not elect anymore, sworn in, for enduring such a contentious and intense campaign with grace and honor. You should be very proud of that. Leadership is such an important quality for a position like this, and I think that showing our kids what a great leader truly looks like is one of the most valuable lessons that we can teach them. There are a lot of things about a leader, or a lot of things about leadership that are on purpose, but there are also many aspects of leadership that great leaders will show just by doing what comes naturally to them and being themselves. I'm sure many of the people that voted for other candidates might be feeling sad or angry, maybe disappointed, and all of those feelings are extremely valid. I know I felt that way before myself. But I hope what I talk about next can bring some comfort to everybody that participated in this election. I went through and watched a lot of the other board meetings, and as everybody, I would assume, is aware, 1 year ago, Bernard McCree stood at this podium after Mr. Martin made some controversial comments. And no matter what your feelings are on those comments, Mr. McCree stood here and told Mr. Martin exactly how he felt. And although he didn't hold back when explaining why Mr. Martin was wrong, he also chose his words carefully. Mr. McCree knows that words matter. And for those of you that didn't see that speech, Mr. McCree told Mr. Martin that he would be running for school board and that he would win and that he would be sitting in Mr. Martin's seat. And then one year later, that happened. And if that weren't inspiring enough, at the last board meeting, Mr. McCree stood at the exact same podium almost a year to the day and thanked the community and voters for voting for him. He promised he would work hard to make this school better and more inclusive, and a more inclusive place for all children. And then he did what great leaders do without even realizing they are being great leaders. He thanked Mr. Martin for his service to the school and all the positives he has brought over the 25 years.
40 seconds.
Win with grace and lose with grace. That's what great leaders do. This group of candidates has shown great leadership throughout this campaign, and I'm very excited to see what kind of leadership they bring to this board. Congratulations once again.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. Seeing no other comments for tonight, we will move on to agenda item 1.8, executive session. There have been no executive sessions to announce. 2.1, appointment of temporary president. Mr. Hart, if you will, I would like to appoint you to serve as temporary president.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for nominations for the office of President of the Wilson School District Board of Directors.
I would like to nominate Mrs. Cocker.
Mrs. Cocker was nominated. Do we have a second to that nomination? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any other nominations on the floor for President of the School Board of Directors for Wilson School District? Seeing none, I'd like to close the nominations. Since there's only one nomination, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of Mrs. Cocker being appointed President of the Wilson School Board of Directors for Wilson School District, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Mrs. Cocker, take your seat, please.
Thank you,
And,
Mr. Hart.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. That 20-minute break was nice. Thank you, Ms. Luke. Not having to go through the beginning of the meeting. I just want to take a minute to thank my fellow board members for entrusting this position to me for another year. When I look at the individuals that are seated at the table here, we have a caring, thoughtful, dedicated group of individuals here, and the fact that you entrust me with this role means a lot, and I promise to hear all voices and lead us in a positive direction. So thank you. Moving on to the election of vice president. Looking for a motion, or looking for a nomination to elect an individual for vice president. Mr. Hart?
So I'd like to nominate Mrs. Jennifer Denny for the vice president position, please.
Okay, we have a nomination for Mrs. Denny. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any other nominations for the position of vice president? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the nomination for vice president. And since we have one candidate, have a roll call, all right, my voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, congratulations, Mrs. Denny. Okay, 2.4, motion to nominate and elect the board secretary, administrative assistant to the superintendent and substitute board secretaries, administrative assistant to the assistant superintendent, and the director of public relations. Looking for a motion to nominate those positions.
Schneider.
So moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you.
So moved.
Mr. Hart, second, thank you. I'm sorry. I think we voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 2.5, looking for a motion to approve the board secretary's salary to be set at $0. Looking for a motion for $0. I'm sorry, Ms. Burkholder.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 2.6, motion to appoint all non-officers of the school board as assistant secretaries for the Wilson School Board of School Directors. Looking for a motion for 2.6. Mrs. Denny?
Denny.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 2.7, motion for continuation in force of present Wilson School District policies. Looking for a motion for 2.7. Dr. Kennedy, do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. This is also, this is a roll call. So roll call for 2.7.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree? Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
2.8, although he is not here this evening, looking for a motion to request approval of the retention of John Moravich from Fox Rothschild as solicitor for 2024. Looking for a motion for 2.8.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Second?
Second.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion on the last roll call? No? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
And 2.9, looking for motion to approve the solicitor's retainer fee for 2024 at $12,000 with hourly rates of $210 per hour for attorney time and between $225 and $250 per hour for special services. Looking for motion for 2.9.
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second?
Denny.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Approval of minutes. Looking for a motion to request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on November 20th, 2023.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of bills. I'm going to say Mr. McCray now. Thank you.
Yes, motion to approve the payment of bills as presented from the general fund in the amount of $1,447,437.75 as attached.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion. Do we have a second for 4.1?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Tonight I present all items in my report, including personnel and program recommendations 5.1 through 5.8.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. Looking for a motion to approve superintendent's staff hirings and new assignments as attached.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion?
I just have a couple of comments. We're ramping up our night school assignments, and I would really like to see this board take a good look at the way we grade with night school and possibly take a look at creating a policy to ensure that night school stays ABCD or ABCDF of a grading, and just for middle schools, high schools, and night school, as I'm hearing conversations that is looking to change. So I'd like to really understand the conversation of what's happening within the school and extend that conversation to the board. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any other discussion for superintendent's report? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes?
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under consent items, we'd like to accept with gratitude from the Wilson Education Foundation 250 books in support of the Wilson Elementary Reading Olympics. Each elementary school received 50 books from the list of titles for their library. We have an attached list for the books that were donated. From Seven Brews Sinking Spring, iced coffees for 3 days for the senior sprint event. And from Darian Hawkins, 21 complete Thanksgiving dinners for families in the Wilson School District. Looking for a motion to accept with gratitude the following items. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. It is with great gratitude, especially I know that Darian Hawkins has done this for a number of years now. So, and for the Wilson Education Foundation providing all of the books to our students in the library so that there's no question of access for students to participate in the Reading Olympics. Thank you very much. Having a motion and a second, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under Student Services, 7.1, request permission to approve the adoption of a settlement agreement and release to establish an education fund to be held and managed by the district. 7.2, request approval to renew a service agreement with Schuylkill Valley School District to provide special education services to Schuylkill Valley students attending Wilson School District during the 2023-24 school year. 7.3, request approval of a student discipline waiver and consent agreement dated November 21st, 2023. 7.4, request approval of a resolution approving and adopting a student discipline waiver and consent agreement dated November 30th, 2023. Looking for a motion to approve Student Services Agenda Items 7.1 through 7.4.
Denny.
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Abstain?
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Eight yes, 1 abstain.
Under Operations, 8.1, request approval of Builder's Risk Policy for the Performing Arts Center project at the high school. Looking for a motion for 8.1.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Hart? Mr. Hart, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I believe this covers our district in the entire span of the project in regards to insurance for the Performing Arts Center and construction. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 9.1, motion to ratify resolution authorizing 12-month extension of purchase of real estate in lieu of condemnation as attached. Looking for a motion for 9.1.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion?
I just want to add that this does not cost our district any money. That it just continues that it's in, the contract is still open. Both parties have agreed that, in case something doesn't work out with another property, this is still open in good faith, and it does not cost the district anything.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any other discussion on 9.1? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Curriculum and Staff Development, 10.1, request approval of a contract with Chester County Intermediate Unit, Brandywine Virtual Academy. Looking for a motion for 10.1.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Transportation, 11.1, request approval of a contract between School Operations Services Group and the Wilson School District as attached. Looking for a motion for 11.1.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second?
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
We have no public participation on non-agenda items. Looking for any other business from the board. Okay, I have one just quick comment. I would like to welcome our 2 new members to the board and point out the historical significance of this current sitting board, that not only is it the most diverse in the history of Wilson, but it is also the most representative in regards to each one of us has a student in each of the 9 buildings. So there's a, yeah, and to, right? So that, to my knowledge, that has not happened in the past. We have children and grandchildren in each of the 5 elementary schools, both middle schools and the high school. So the community chose people who truly represent them, and we know the schools, the parents, our children, culture, and I just look forward to the positive change and I'm just excited for what the next 2 years are going to bring with this board. So, thank you. Hearing no other business from the board, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Meeting adjourned.